So,
The hospital still, I guess, right?
the hospitals we'll go there and talk to the.
What'd you say? Yeah, you're winning.
Hey, how are you?
Did you really? And good morning. On behalf of the Montreal Expos, welcome. We are sorry to be a few minutes late, so we'll get things moving along. And I know you want to know exactly who is here and what they do. Some need an introduction, some don't, but we'll introduce everybody, and we're happy to see the turnout, and all of the fellows will be available for one-on-ones with all of you. I would start with a young man who's in his 14th year in the Expos organization. He signed as a youngster off the Montreal playgrounds, played briefly at the professional level, and he has been a coach and a broadcaster with the Expos, and most recently has been our bullpen coordinator. He is from Montreal, Pierre Arsenault. Pierre. You, of course, probably are familiar with the name Denny Boucher. Denny pitched with the Jays and the Indians and briefly with Colorado and San Diego, and then finished up his career with the Montreal Expos. We had one of those magic nights in 1993 at the Olympic Stadium when Denny made his Expos debut and packed them in there, and they were hanging from the rafters to see Denny Boucher pitch for the Expos. He was with the team in and Denny is now working in the promotions department in the front office, and he has headed up this winter's Caravan. So it's his work that has put all of this together. We're pleased to have a couple of members of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame with us, and not only with us today, but in our organization for a long time. Ron Piche was hired back in 1968 when the Expos were first awarded a franchise, when Montreal was first awarded a franchise. I guess when Ron was hired, we might not have even had the name Expos at that time, but he was hired to help sell tickets. He's done a terrific job as a baseball ambassador, a former Major League pitcher, and again, a member of Canada's Baseball Hall of Fame, Ron Piche, long-time The next name and face familiar to Canadians from coast to coast, because after his playing days ended with a bang in Montreal in 1970 when he saved, 25 ball games for the Expos and then hung it up. He's been with the organization as a broadcaster ever since that time on both radio and television. He was an all-star pitcher at Houston. He is probably as closely associated with the Expos as anyone in Quebec. He is Claude Raymond. Claude? Some of the players that have joined us for this second week of the Caravan. This young man got an opportunity last year because another one of our guests here today went down with a debilitating ankle injury. Orlando Cabrera was our regular shortstop until he went down with an ankle injury, and I'll get to Orlando in a moment. This young man was called up from Ottawa, and he stepped right in, did a terrific job. He's a 6-year veteran of the Montreal Expos organization. He went 8 for 22, made it look far too easy in his first 6 games in the major leagues. A switch hitter, Jeff Blum, who played shortstop with the Orlando was doing a terrific job. He had taken over as the shortstop, really solidified the middle of the Expos infield. As a matter of fact, at one point his defense was so good he gained a lot of recognition for putting together a streak of 42 consecutive games without making an error. We all wondered whether or not Orlando could hit. We found out Orlando Cabrera can hit. He batted .254 last year, missed the last 54 games with an ankle injury. That opened the door to Jeff Blum. And I know that heading into the 2000 season, he doesn't want to miss a single game. He wants to play in 162. Orlando Cabrera. Ted Lilly put together 8 wins at Ottawa, the Expos AAA club. He came to the team the season before in the trade with the Dodgers at the end of July. You'll recall the trade that sent Mark Vresilanek and Carlos Perez to the Dodgers. Among those coming to the Expos was a left-handed pitcher. After putting together those 8 wins at Ottawa, he got a brief cup of coffee at the major league level, pitched in some games for the Expos, but he had some problems and he's had subsequent shoulder surgery. So this will be a comeback year for him, but he is coming back and he's ready and raring to go. He's a left-hander, Ted Lilly. Ted. He caught over 60% of the Expos games this past year, and we found out a lot about Chris Widger and his makeup, because not only did he improve his play behind the plate, but with the bat as well, had his finest overall season, all things considered, offensively. Chris Widger, in his third Major League season, batted .264. He started 104 of the Expos games behind the plate, and he's looking forward to being the #1 receiver in the year 2000. Chris Widger. Chris? Probably did him a disservice saying he's looking forward to being the #1 receiver. Chris is the #1 receiver for the Expos. This young man was born in Val-d'Or, Quebec, up in the northern part of the province, and he's had stints in both the Pittsburgh Pirate and the San Diego Padre organizations. The Expos have signed him. You know, there's that old saying in baseball, you never have enough pitching, and the Expos will certainly find a spot where he'll be able to contribute in the organization, if not at the Major League level. Right-hander Michel Laplante. Michel? And while the Expos signed the right-hander, they also signed a left-hander from Quebec. He hails from Sherbrooke. He signed last year. He is Pierre-Luc Marceau. Pierre-Luc. And I see everybody smile and say, well, this man needs no introduction, and he doesn't, but I will tell you about him anyway. It's his 25th year in the Montreal organization, and as I'm sure all of you know, he has managed more wins wearing the Expos uniform and managed most games in team history. The year 2000 is his 8th full year managing this ball club. He is a beloved sports figure, not only in Quebec, but across Canada. And we have seen some wonderful things happen with this baseball team since Philippe Alou took over as the manager. Philippe? I know you're going to want to talk to everybody individually, but I know Philippe would probably like to say a few words and tell you how he got into the country today. And, he's had a lot of traveling to do lately, and he just arrived with the Caravan. This is his first week, so this is his first official appearance at the Caravan. Philippe Alou.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here and greet the players, all of you. I was here last week with the other group of players that just went back home, and I really don't know what's been said in the past week, so I'm really new to this. I was here about 3 or 4 years ago in this area promoting the team. Went across the lake to see our Class A team play baseball and so forth and so on, but this is a different year, a different feeling. I had to say very frankly that we are looking for support here. Before we went very bold because we didn't know what was going to happen to the Expo. It was hard to bring a message to and ask for support, and then we would know where our next game was going to be played. Thank God that we know we're going to be in Montreal, and we're going to be the Montreal Expos, and we depend on the support of the people from both sides of the border. So the message goes for the fans and for everybody, and also for our players. I told those guys a week ago that we are going to be here in the area, in the region, and that we are going to be asked to win games. And I believe we are at a stage now where we should win our share of games. When I first took the club, I was struggling with the 500 mark. I hate 500. And we became a 600 club, in a couple of years. But all of a sudden, in the last couple of years, we have been struggling with 400. We feel that we are a club that should pass the 500 this year and challenge for something. So we count on your support, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much.
I think they made a very important point there. It is no coincidence that in this, the first year under the ownership of Jeff Loria, that the Expos have returned to the Champlain Valley with their Caravan. Those of you who have been around for a while probably recall the early years and can remember very well, number one, piece of trivia for you, that in 1969, WEAB in Plattsburgh was the Expos' keystone station on the English radio network. The Montreal station was a network station. This is where it all started for the Expos media-wise. Things did not go as planned for about the past 10 years, and we got away from the Champlain Valley, but the new people are dead set on returning strong Montreal Expos presence in this area. The other day we were on the other side of the lake, and happy to be here today. And please know that it is by no coincidence, it is an absolute plan that the Expos will have a much stronger, once again, a much stronger presence in this area. Benoit Boileau is from our sales department, and I know that you didn't come out here today to buy tickets. But he is here. He can answer any and all questions that you might have pertaining to some of the ideas that our new people have in regards to ticket sales in the areas from which they want to draw. And please know that this is a prime area for the Expos to make a very strong effort. So we are pleased and privileged to be back here with you, and this appearance today will not be the last you'll see or hear from the Expos and their people in this area. So we're happy to be back, happy to be with you today. Thank you for coming out, and all of the men are available to you. Thank you. You're looking at him half the time that I was talking and failed to introduce my broadcast partner from Montreal, Joe Cannon. Joe, I apologize. And now before I leave, did I leave anyone else out other than that orange fuzzball back there? I know I left Yubi out, but there you go. And Orlando Cabrera's lovely wife, Senorita.
We're breaking in a new cameraman, Ron Pichet.
I can see that now. What for your job? You might lose it now pretty soon.
This is Calvin Castine, and we're at the North Country Chamber of Commerce building. We've just finished with a little Expo Caravan introduction, and we've got a person that the hometown cable viewers doesn't need an introduction. And before I introduce Ron here, I got to tell you that my son Caleb, who's got a snow day today, Caleb Castine's right in the camera. And I think when you go to the mall today, Ron Pichet, you're going to find a few youngsters hanging around there.
Yeah, that's what we were talking on the bus coming down here, and they said all the kids didn't have to go to school. We said we want to see the kids first of all, and they said they're going to be at the shopping mall. We're going to be there and maybe spend an hour with them, and after that we're going to have some lunch and go back to the mall from 6 to 7, I guess, and we're going to meet some people from here. I remember, like you said before, I've been here a long time ago, like Dave Van Horn said. We've been here since 1968, and the new owners, they want to bring the people back to Montreal. And I think it's going to be a good year. And we got some young ball players, and we got to me, I like Javier Vasquez, Cabrera. They're good players, but we got the guys like Urbina. He's not in yet, but Urbina to me, I think is a great pitcher, relief pitcher, and we depend on him again this year. But with the young club we got, and with Felipe Alou, I think we're going to have a good season.
You know darn well with Felipe there that you're going to get the most mileage out of what you got, huh?
That's right. Like Felipe, you can get 100% on each guy on the field. And like you said, this year it's a big season for us, and especially the next, to me, in the next 4, 5, 6 months, we see what's going to happen in Montreal if the people is going to back up the club and they're going to buy season tickets, and even here from Burlington, Plattsburgh, and we want the people to come to see us play. And if we don't do that, I don't know what's going to happen.
April 8th last year, Ron, the excitement was there. The Mets were in town, opening day, right. And over 40,000, about 43,000 fans, 44,000 fans. It looked like it was going to be a great year. Then
boom. And the next day we dropped to 5,000, I guess 8,000 people. And I know it was a bad year last year, but I think everything changed, from the front office and with the ball players. We know we're going to have a good club, but from the front office-wise, we're going to change a few things, and we'd like to see some people back to Montreal.
As Dave Van Horn mentioned, and you just mentioned, you've been with the Expos right from the start, back in '68. The first season was '69. Does this kind of remind you, with the new ownership, a little bit of back in the days when you're first getting going?
Oh, sure. We had those days we had John McHale and Jim Fanning, and John McHale was the president of the ball club, and Nino was what's up to the New York States, and he was American first of all, and Jim too. And people knows baseball here. We were on the other side of the lake the other day, and the same thing. People talk to me, they remember me, and they say, "Oh yeah, Braves and all that." And I think people in the States, and they're more baseball fans than it is maybe in way up north in Quebec. But again, I think that was a great place. And I remember Roger Savard. We used to come here maybe once a week, and Roger, we knew the mayor of Plattsburgh long time ago, and he used to go to Legion every night, and we used to have ride with at the airport with the Air Force bases, and but all those days, I hope they're gonna come back in Montreal and come back again.
Well, that's great. It must be an exciting time to be with the Expos, especially after the lull you've had in the last year or so. Last year must have been a tough time to be working.
Well, last year I think for us was one of the worst years in baseball, I guess, for me in the office. But that was the situation was we cannot blame anybody. And to me, all the people was there. They treat me very good. And the people this year, like Mr. Loria, I came back, and Mr. Sampson, talked to David Sampson the other day, and he knows me, and they're baseball fans, first of all, and they're crazy about the game, and I think they're working hard in the office right now. I think everybody's working right now since they took over, and I hope it's going to last for a few years again.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
All right, Ron, thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, we've got another man whose name is going to bring back some memories to longtime baseball fans. As I recall, you're from St. John's, aren't you?
Yeah, I was born in Saint Jean, Quebec, and I still live in St. Luc, so my roots are there, and I haven't moved very much except for my career as a ball player.
Mr. Claude Raymond, who was one of the premier, if not the premier, Canadian-born players in Major League history. And the thing, we've got, as you probably know, here in the northern part of New York State, we're pretty excited about Johnny Padres. But when you get right down to the mileage away, to people like us in the Rouse's Point, Champlain area, Claude Raymond was born a lot closer to us than Johnny Padres was.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because for myself, Champlain, Burlington, Rutland, and Plattsburgh, to me, it's all in my backyard because I live in Saint Jean. I was maybe 15 minutes from Rouse's Point's border, and every time I went to Florida, I went through here. And this is such a nice country that even sometimes in the winter, I just take my car and I drive through here, come back through Vermont just for a ride for a day. So I feel like this is my country, really.
Yes, and and it's just. I felt so disappointed last year, as I was just talking with Ron, that 44,000 fans that first day, then have the bottom drop out the very next day. I went back the next day, and there was hardly anybody there.
Well, first of all, I was surprised to see 44,000 the first day because 2 weeks prior to the start of the season, it seemed like nobody knew there was going to be a baseball season. So they had good publicity for 2 weeks. Before that, we didn't hear anything. So it doesn't make any sense that you have 30, 40,000 one day, the next day it goes to 5,000 or 6,000. You got to have a kind of a level somewhere. You cannot have games under 10,000 people. You should have plans that every day you got at least 10,000. The people that used to come for, in the 6,000, 7,000, there are, die-hard baseball fans. They used to be there, good time and bad times, but I hope this doesn't happen this year. I hope we have a better flow of people into the stadium and we have a better follow-up because what the owners have done and what the ball players have done so far, it's very positive, and they've tried everything to try to bring the people back to the Olympic Stadium.
Well, I think it can happen. I think there just wasn't that positive, exciting atmosphere last year because people were waiting for the other shoe to drop. The announcement that, because as you know, about this time a year ago, or a little bit before this time a year ago, there's great speculation that the Expos wouldn't even be there.
Well, not only for you people, but for us too, because to me it hurt me. I was broken heart just to hear people say that the Expos are going to move, because Montreal is a good baseball city. All the surroundings around Montreal, we used to draw a lot of people from 15 miles, 30 miles away, 50 miles away, 100 miles away, and that was an hour and a half. You're an hour from Montreal, an hour and a half. This is a snap just to go watch a ball game, but we didn't do anything to bring people back to the stadium. The only thing that they used to say is, don't come to the Olympic Stadium, it's a bad place to watch a baseball game. But right now, Mr. Loria and his son David Sampson are telling people, come to the Olympic Stadium, it's not that bad of a place to watch a ball game. And you know, it's funny because people on the other teams, when they came to Montreal, they brought their wives, they brought family, and they love Olympic Stadium to play in. So if the other teams love it, why shouldn't our fans love it too?
Yeah, and there's only probably a few bad seats in the place. Most of the seats are good seats, especially now since they've redid the stadium a few years back and they brought the players closer to the stands.
Well, there's no bad seats really, because if you go in the bleachers for $5, you still have a pretty good seat. You can watch Vladimir Guerrero's moves, and you can watch Rondell White move around. And
you can catch a ball once in a while.
Yeah, it's a heck of a stadium. It's not that bad, and I hope people come back and give us a hand, because we need the support from everybody.
Let's talk a little bit about your career, Claude. Most ball players are from the southern part of North America, or now into the Central America area, because you can play year-round. Up here in the North Country, we don't get to play that long a season. How did a man from St. Jean-sur-Richelieu end up getting enough playing time to become a major leaguer?
Well, like everybody else, I played ball in the summer, and I played hockey in the winter, and then all of a sudden I had the privilege of being a bad boy for my hometown in the provincial league, and we had people from upstate New York here, like Lefty Blumet and Al Pajanis, and a lot of people from the New York State and Vermont State that used to play for my hometown. And I watched them play, and I've learned by watching them play, and then all of a sudden, because I had a good arm, I became a pitcher, and then I was lucky enough to climb the ladder and go up to the big leagues and stay there for a long time. But it's I think I'm privileged to being a big league ball player. I was lucky. I worked hard at it, but it's just to prove that if I can make it, everybody can make it if they work hard enough at it.
All right, anything else you'd like to tell us, Claude, before you dig into the buffet?
Well, just come and see us at the Olympic Stadium. We need everybody's help, and you'll see a good show, because we have a bunch of young kids that want to win, they want to play, and then we probably have the best manager in the big league. So come and see the Expos.
I'm not sure about that probably part.
Yeah, it is. He is the best manager.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Claude.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's Randall Beach, who's the chief of the board of directors here at the Chamber of Commerce this year, and he's, as everybody in Northern Tier knows, the Canadian Studies professor at Plattsburgh State, so very fitting for him to be here with the Montreal Expos. And as we see, Philippe Alou signing autographs for some of the youngsters over there.